The NFL trade deadline came and went with the Buccaneers not making a move. We tell you why it isn't a huge cause for concern. Then we turn our attention to the Los Angeles Rams in a must-win to save the season. Let's go.
You are Locked On Buccaneers, your daily Tampa Bay Buccaneers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, and welcome to the Locked On Bucs Podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We are your daily podcast covering the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, free and available on all platforms, including YouTube, and we thank you for making us your first listen or view of the day. I am James Yarcho, deputy editor of SB Nation's BucsNation.com, joined by my Wednesday co-host, Mr. Evan Klosky of 10 Tampa Bay. Of course, you can check out everything that he's doing on 10 Tampa Bay and at 10tampabay.com. And make sure you're following everything on Twitter at Locked On Bucs, at JYarcho_Bucs, and at eKlosky WTSP. Again, we thank you for making us your first listen or view of the day. Today's episode of Locked On Bucs is presented by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy. Pick 2 to 5 players, and if they will score more or less than their Prize Picks projection, you can win up to 10 times your money on any entry. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code Locked On. That's prizepicks.com, promo code Locked On. Evan is going to give his thoughts on what can spark the run game for this Buccaneers offense. But first, we need to talk about the NFL trade deadline. In NFL record, 12 players were moved at the deadline, and the Buccaneers were able to do nothing.
Zip.
They have some players coming back. Carlton Davis, Sean Murphy-Bunting, Antoine Winfield Jr., Akiem Hicks, Russell Gage. So some people like to make the argument that by doing nothing, they're still doing something because they're getting all of these guys back. But we saw Bradley Chubb moved. We saw my guy Chase Claypool moved. We saw Zach Moss get traded. Nyheim Hines got traded. Chase Edmonds.
Calvin Ridley,
who, isn't even playing this year. Even he got traded. The Buccaneers managed to do absolutely nothing. But when you take a look at the trade deadline landscape, Evan, was there a move that was made that you thought maybe the Buccaneers should have been in on? Or is there a move that didn't get made that you were thinking they probably should have tried to pursue?
Honestly, I keep kind of flip-flopping on this because a part of me thinks that you should be going all in to a degree to make something happen. It's tough to know what they were trying to do and what wasn't executed. It always takes two to tango with these trade situations. Bradley Chubb would have been someone very intriguing only if they truly wanted to go all in, Bradley Chubb was the move.
Absolutely.
Mostly because that Shaq Barrett is not returning, right? Everyone else, the organization could have said, look, we're going to get this person back, this person back, this person back, but that Shaq is not coming back. So the fact that you couldn't even make a tiny deal for some O-line depth, that was probably the one thing I was looking for is could you float out a 6th rounder to bring in someone to help on the depth, just anything. So the fact that wasn't made, that was probably the one thing that I wanted to see from the team. Having said that, giving up a 1st-round pick for a team that's 3-5, who currently has the 8th pick in the draft. We can all say that we believe this team will be better. We believe that they'll win the division, but what if they don't? And that's what Jason Licht and company have to worry about. If they were 6-2 in this division and they lost Shaq Barrett, I think there would have been more of an impetus to kind of say, screw it, get Bradley Chubb, insert him in, plug and play from what Shaq was, and keep the train moving. But the fact is, you kind of just have to hope that it works out, and maybe you can finagle something after the deadline in a sense of waves or pulling people off practice squads. I don't know. But it just seems like they were kind of
it's real hard to justify, like you said, a 3-5 football team giving up their first round pick for a 9-game rental plus maybe the postseason.
Yeah, and their salary cap strong.
Yeah.
So it's not even like, Miami at least is going to try to work out a long-term deal.
Right.
The Bucs were probably not going to do that, especially when you have Joe Tryon-Shoyinka on the other side, and Shaq Barrett's going to return next season. So he kind of gets squeezed out. I was wondering how creative the Bucs could have been to maybe acquire someone with years left on a rookie, like a Chase Claypool, or not saying that they really need to. I don't want them trading a second round pick for Chase Claypool, but I'm saying that somebody who could have given them help this year and maybe next year and the year after to kind of help their cap when they're going to inevitably have to make harsh cuts and change this roster over next year. That was sort of the creativity I wanted to see, that they were maybe willing to part with some picks for guys who are going to be around for 1, 2, 3 more years, in a very similar fashion to what we saw from the Lightning when they made a big deal last year to bring in a guy like Brandon Hagel, who was under a cheap contract for 2 more years, and they parted with a lot of prospects and picks because they said, you know what, this is a win-now move, but we also know that we're going to need cap help in the future. So let's just do that right now.
Yeah, two birds, one stone. Well, the good news is no one else in the division, nor the Rams or the Packers, really did anything at all to improve their own chances. We had heard for weeks that Cam Akers was kind of on the trade block. Nothing happens there. So with the Bucs getting the players back that I mentioned, and don't forget, Tyler Johnson back on the practice squad. I
hope he sends you a signed football for how much you. I don't get it.
So, you have the Rams and the Packers standing pat. Is the door still open now for the Buccaneers to make a run here in a weak NFC?
For sure, Tom Brady's your quarterback, and if you can click, don't tell me that you cannot tell me that any team in the in the NFC is not going to be freaking out if the Bucs get in as a low seed and are coming to your house, especially with what they did in 2020 with the GOAT. And the facts are they are a bid stealing type of team. I mean, the NFC South is going to be a bid stealer. It's going to be potentially an undeserving team, getting a spot. I mean, let's say the Bucs turn it around. What's best case scenario? I mean, 9 wins, right? 9-7. I mean, 10-6 would be a miracle. 10-7 would be a miracle. So, I mean, you're 3-5 now. If you mean losing 2 games the rest of the way, that's a 10-win season. Yeah. So, I mean, dude, that's a tall order. I can see 9 wins. I think 9 wins wins the division.
Oh, absolutely. You could probably win this division with 8 wins.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Things are going.
So, I mean, that's and look, I bring up the Lightning again, right? Because they are the stereotypical. It doesn't matter what you do in the regular season. All that matters is what you do in the postseason. And if this team can be healthy enough entering the playoffs, and if they've figured out something offensively, then that's a scary team. I mean, on paper, they're a scary team when fully healthy.
Yeah.
And it's going to be very interesting to see them get a little bit of their swagger back when all these defensive pieces come. It's just offensively, I don't know where the help is. There's no excuse there outside of a middling Julio Jones who can't stay healthy, which we don't know what his impact is going to be on the offense anyway. So, and the issues with the offense have nothing to do with people who are absent. It's communicative, it's scheme, it's predictability. I think recently what we've seen with the defense has been more injury issues than Todd Bowles' issues, the offense is a long-standing problem.
Well, something that could inject some life and some confidence in the offense is going to be getting that run game right. We're going to get your thoughts on that in just a little bit. But something that helps me have some confidence is Simply Safe. Did you know that over the holidays, property crimes like burglaries and package thefts spike nationally? That's why our friends at Simply Safe Home Security are offering 50% off their award-winning security system so that more families can feel safe and secure this holiday season. Order your Simply Safe system for half off today and enjoy advanced security and greater peace of mind this holiday season. In an emergency, 24/7 professional monitoring agents use Fast Protect technology exclusively from Simply Safe to capture critical evidence and verify the threat is real so you can get priority police response. With top-rated Simply Safe app, stay in complete control of your system anytime, anywhere, arm or disarm, unlock for a guest, access your cameras, or adjust system settings. Don't miss your chance to save big on the only security system that I recommend. Get 50% off of any new Simply Safe system at simplysafe.com/lockedonnfl today. This is their biggest discount of the year, so don't wait. That's simplysafe.com/lockedonnfl. There's no safe like Simply Safe. Thank you for making Locked On Bucs your first listen every day. Make sure that if you are a fan of other sports like hockey, Evan's already talked about the Lightning a little bit, college football, number one defense in the nation, the University of Illinois Fighting Illini, baby. You want to check out Locked On Sports today. It is the biggest headlines in all of the sports in under 30 minutes, available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. There is plenty of talk coming up about the Rams game when David comes back for crossover Thursday tomorrow. But let's start with the obvious headline for the Bucs going into this game. And of course, we've already touched on it a little bit, but that is Shaq Barrett. You're a big Anthony Nelson guy.
I am.
You even made a preseason bold prediction that he would finish with, I believe it was 8 sacks.
Yeah.
Are you comfortable, maybe even confident, in Anthony Nelson and Carl Nassib's ability to step up and fill a huge void left by Shaq Barrett, who was crushing it in the first half against Baltimore?
He was so good.
The offense stalled, but I think the moment Shaq left, that's when everything went downhill for the Bucs as a whole, emotionally. And then, of course, on the defensive side of the ball, already missing all those pieces. It was right after that they just completely fell apart.
The answer is no. I like Anthony Nelson. I like Carl Nassib, but they're not Shaq Barrett. And they'll tell you that. So it's very concerning. There's no replacement. And Joe Tryon is still kind of learning. Certainly like his ability of pass rushing. I still worry with his containment. I think his fundamentals are still getting there of getting caught out of position and teams taking advantage of it in certain occasions. But look, I think that Anthony Nelson has the ability to have splash plays. I mean, I remember Shaq talking in training camp saying that Anthony Nelson reminded him of himself when he was in Denver, that he just needed the opportunity and that he was going to go eat. And he felt like this was kind of the year for him to do that. So I stand by that sack number. I think the probabilities of me hitting that bold prediction have gone up because, he's going to get more runway. So, I think you're going to notice him make big plays, but is he going to be consistent enough to make all the plays that Shaq makes? Because even though Shaq wasn't filling up the stat sheet, his pressure numbers were fantastic. So he was doing work. It just wasn't correlated to statistics. We saw on Thursday the statistics were finally catching up. He was having a big game, and now he's taken out. So that's the it's a big loss. Hopefully, though, Bowles will now utilize more blitzes with his DBs when they're all healthy to kind of mitigate the pressure that Shaq had, and we'll see what they can do there of switching things up. So that, it's I would love to say that, my love for Anthony Nelson's going to prove itself, and you're going to see a star emerge. I think you're going to see someone who is going to make a giant leap emerge, but is that going to be good enough for this defense? That remains to be seen. But I do love Nelson. I do think the general public is going to be impressed with what they see, even though he got into Thursday night watching some of the game back. He did miss a couple of big tackles there, which were very important, which is why I say it's a consistency thing. It's not a splash play thing.
I spoke out on Monday's episode about a couple of things. I went on a full-blown diatribe about how pointless Thursday night football is and how the NFL's a bunch of hypocrites. Well, one of the things that I talked about more specifically pertaining to the Buccaneers is that I feel it's a time for a change at running back. And I don't mean to bench Leonard Fournette outright, but that Rachaad White should be getting the Leonard Fournette load, and Leonard Fournette should be relegated to the Rachaad White kind of, the role. Over the last 2 games, Rachaad White averaging almost 4.5 yards per carry, which far surpasses Fournette's production. Is that the spark you think the Bucs need in the run game, or do you have a different idea as to how they can get out of the basement of the NFL in terms of rushing offense?
I would love to tell you it's as simple as that. I definitely think that Rachaad White needs more. Certainly needs more carries. Having said that, the rushing issues pertain heavily with lack of consistency up front. I think, everyone's kind of unloaded on Luke Gedeke, and my issues with Luke pertain more to pass pro than maybe the rushing game. I think Robert Hainsey is still learning, how to when he's pulling and getting to where he needs to get to fast enough, and the opponents, I think he needs some work, but the bigger issue is kind of on the edges. So Cade Otton and even Coe, they have not been consistent enough at blocking the edges. And if you watch at home, if you roll back tape and you watch some of these bad runs, what's happening is the guy on the edge is getting around so quickly that it's sniping the running back as they try to get into the lane. Now, having said that, multiple times a game I'm watching, and Lenny is missing a hole. And that's not to say that Lenny is going in the wrong direction. Lenny is heading to the place that he's supposed to be heading. But the running back and their power is supposed to ad-lib and find where the hole is existing. And on multiple occasions in a game, you will see a gaping hole. Maybe not where it's supposed to be, where the design is, but it is right there because defenses are over pursuing now on the Bucs. They're feeling real confident, which is why I kind of think they need to add some misdirection. And that is an answer for me, is defenses have just been crashing the line and just essentially crushing them. And if you can throw in some misdirection, maybe you can kind of get them a little pause, a little hesitation on being able to get to the running back so quickly.
Well, the Rams are right there with the Bucs in terms of their ability to run the ball. So it's going to be interesting to see which side emerges as the superior rushing team on Sunday. But I'm not racing to put any running back from this game into my daily fantasy lineups. However, if any of you are more confident than I am in that aspect, you may want to make one of them your pick on Prize Picks. 2 to 5 players, and if they will score more or less than their Prize Picks projection, you can win up to 10 times your money on any entry. It's not competing against other people. It's just you against the projections available. Prize Picks offers projections on any sport that you can watch: NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL, PGA, college football, men's and women's college basketball, cricket. Pickleball is going to be on there sooner than later. You got the XFL coming up, all kinds of choices. Safe and fast withdrawals, currently operational in over 30 states and Canada. Download the Prize Picks app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code Locked On. Wrapping things up here on a Wednesday edition of the Locked On Bucs podcast, and it's time for the prediction segment. Evan is going to break out that crystal ball of his. He is going to let us know who is going to win this game and what the score is. He is going to let us know who the player of the game is going to be. But first, he's going to drop a bold prediction in there. So tell me, why is your bold prediction that Cooper Kupp will get 0 receptions for 0 yards and 0 touchdowns?
Good luck. Cooper Kupp, who had 18 receptions for nearly 280 yards and 3 scores against the Buccaneers last year in 2 games. You're not going to stop him completely, but I will say
to rest that ankle. That's all I'm saying.
I will say the Buccaneers spent the entire offseason studying for the Rams, because entering the season they said, how are we going to win the NFC? And winning the NFC goes through LA. You haven't beaten LA in forever. Last time you beat the Rams in Ray J was 2010. Cadillac Williams scored the game-winning touchdown with 10 seconds left. 18-17 win. The team was still in St. Louis. So it's been a long time. So I do think if Antoine Winfield Jr. is healthy, moving him to the slot is really going to limit Cooper Kupp's breakout ability. He's still going to get 9-10 catches for nearly 100 yards and probably a score. But that's okay based on, what, as long as you can limit him to those numbers and keep everyone else at bay, you can live with that. And that's been the Rams' problem. Cooper's been getting his. It's just who the hell else in this offense is stepping up? And it really has been nobody. So, the Rams have the same issues that the Bucs have, right? Questionable offensive line, can't run the ball. The quarterback isn't really performing up to abilities. All those offensive questions. I would argue that at least the Bucs offense at receiver looks better than the Rams, because Allen Robinson hasn't really been what they thought he would be. They just got Van Jefferson back, which gives them a vertical threat. But, he's always been a boomer bust guy. So, if Antoine Winfield Jr. is healthy, I believe that that's going to be really good. That's going to be really good for the Bucs, and I would imagine him being locked in on Coop.
So your bold prediction is?
My bold prediction is 5 sacks.
Oh,
yeah. I think
I like that.
And by the way, disclaimer, this is all under the assumption that we're going to see guys like Carlton Davis,
sure,
Antoine Winfield Jr., Akiem Hicks, and Sean Murphy-Bunting return. So we're optimistic entering the week that might happen. If things change, on the blitz on Tampa Bay at 8:30, my pick might change, my thoughts might change. But as of right now, being that optimistic, I'm going 5 sacks. And I think they've been studying for this game all offseason. I think that they certainly delved deeply into it and are in a very prime spot, because they've had an extra 3 or 4 days to prepare, while the Rams just came off a divisional matchup at home against the Niners, where that was a must-win game, and they got blown out. So that is a deflating feeling, and now you got to fly across the country against a team that is pissed, not only about the 3-game losing streak, because the Rams are ticked off about that as well, but also about just how much they cannot beat this team and what happened last season. So there are a lot of motivational, non-football kind of factors that parlay into me thinking the Bucs are going to be very prepared, especially Todd Bowles.
So who's going to be the catalyst for this? Your predictive player of the game,
Devin White.
Oh,
If you cannot, but this is a huge shove it in your face game for Devin White. You know, he's been getting a lot of crap and deservedly so.
Warren Sapp said, "Take the C off his chest."
Exactly. No, his play has been challenged. His work ethic has been challenged. And when Todd Bowles even made the Super Bowl comment, I think that was a direct shot at Devin White.
I agree.
So this man, if there's a time to step up, you know, national game, all eyes on you, CBS, I think this is a put up or shut up game for Devin White, and he is going to be locked in because he has been locked out for a few weeks now. Ever since winning that NFC Defensive Player of the Month award, he has been tuned out. So yeah. I think, you know, he got some humble pie, and I think he's about to shove it in everyone's face. So that's going to be my kind of a bold prediction too. So I think he'll be all over the screen.
All right. And when all is said and done, when Tony Romo has annoyed us all to no end, the final score. Actually, I like Tony Romo.
I cannot wait for Tony Romo to just predict every. He's going to predict every single Buccaneers offensive play.
Probably. But I mean, over under 17 and a half times does he go, "Here we go, Jim." Kills me. What is going to be the final score in this one?
I swore to myself I would not pick the Buccaneers until they prove they can win a game. I swore to myself.
I was planning on doing the same thing, and I thought about it for 2 days.
And I literally, I have to go Buccaneers. The spot is too good. It's too good. 23-20 Buccaneers. I don't think it's going to be a blowout by any means. I think it's going to be ugly. I think defense wins this one. But, man, I told you, literally this team had extra time. They played an AFC opponent on Thursday Night Football. It was whatever. They've been game planning all offseason. I think the Antoine Winfield Jr. move to the slot, by the way, was a direct result of how badly they did against Cooper Kupp and how they needed to change the way they did things to win the NFC. They have literally spent so much time on the Rams. They've had to. And the Rams are scrambling because they really have not been focusing on the Bucs like the Bucs have been focusing on the Rams. And I already explained the spot that they're in coming off of last week and how dejecting that was. I'm going to regret this, but 23-20 Buccaneers.
Well, spoiler for Friday's episode. Like I said, I've been thinking about it for 2 days, and I swore I wasn't going to pick the Buccaneers to win a game because of exactly what you just said. Until they show me they can win a game, I can't pick them. But all I keep thinking is they have to win this game. And if I'm going to trust anybody to figure it out and win just one game, it's Tom Brady. If the Bucs win this game, it could spark a run. If they lose this game, the season is over. You are not bouncing back from 3-7 and making the playoffs. They have to find a way to win this game. So I don't know what my score prediction is going to be yet, but I'm with you. I got your back, Evan. I think the Buccaneers are going to win this one. With that, we are going to get out of here. Thank you again for making Locked On Bucs your first listen every day. And, of course, make sure you're hearing the biggest stories in all the sports by checking out Locked On Sports Today, available on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. David will be back tomorrow with Crossover Thursday, hooking up with Locked On Rams to break down the biggest matchups and the biggest stories ahead of this game. Check out everything Evan is doing over on 10 Tampa Bay and at 10tampabay.com. Check out my stuff over at bucksnation.com. And, of course, follow everything on Twitter at Locked On Bucs, at JYarcho_Bucs, and at DHarrison82, and at eKlosky WTSP. Hope you all have an absolutely outstanding day. Stay safe, stay healthy, fire those cannons. And we thank you so much for joining us right here at Locked On Bucs.